What are the biggest delusions that people of India live in, according to me? What are the biggest delusions that Indians have? India's biggest delusions. That's an interesting question. Um, there's a lot of delusions that Indians labor under. No question about it. What are the biggest ones? Our national slogan is Satyamev Jayate. Truth always prevails. That's a delusion. Truth prevails only if it is backed up by strength. Do you understand that? And if you look at Indian politicians and everything, do you see them following this adage of Satyamev Jayate? I'm not talking about all politicians. There are some good politicians, no doubt, in India, some really great politicians. But if you look at the majority of politicians, you may see that Satyamev Jayate doesn't apply there, right? So the big delusion is Satyamev Jayate, that we Indians believe that truth always prevails. No, sir. No, ma'am. Strength prevails, not truth. So for truth to prevail, it needs to be backed up by strength, hard power. Okay, that's one delusion. Another delusion is uh, the lots of Indians believe that non-violence won us our independence. Right? We became independent. We won our independence through non-violence. That's a delusion. We are still colonized because we got this transfer of power through non-violence, which ensured that the British were able to handpick their successors who would who they would hand power to in India. And that's why India is still deeply, deeply colonized, and we have so many issues. Had India won its independence through violence, then we would have a completely different system today. So non-violence did not win us independence. What it ensured is that we remain colonized and nothing changes. The entire system of governance and the entire governance machinery, the entire education system, everything is still British and still colonial. Non-violence did not win us any independence. Another thing people ask is, when faced with some geopolitical choice, they ask, what would Gandhi do? What would Mr. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi do? What we should actually ask ourselves is, what would Kali do? Not what would Mr. Gandhi do? What would Kali do? Goddess Kali. All your gods, they wield weapons, deadly weapons, bloody weapons, right? So don't ask yourself what would Mr. Gandhi do. Ask yourself what would Kali do, or your favorite god or goddess do. Understand that we are sovereign as a nation, not because we are non-violent, but because we have nuclear weapons and the means to deliver those nuclear weapons. That's why we are sovereign. So please, enough of this delusion of non-violence. And there is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudha Eva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. If you read the Jataka tales, you will see that the story that has this slogan, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that story is a cautionary tale. And the moral of that story is that the world is not one family. It's a cautionary tale, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So stop believing the world is one family. The world is not one family. Then there is this delusion Indians have about India's soft power. Indians are obsessed with soft power. That's a delusion. Soft power doesn't exist unless you have hard power. Soft power is, you will be respected as a nation only if you have hard power, and then people will value your soft power. But if you are a poor, miserable third world country incapable of defending itself, no matter how great your culture is, nobody will value you. So soft power only exists if you have sufficient hard power. That's another delusions Indians labor under. Then there is this delusion in India that unilateral concessions will win you friends. What are examples of unilateral concessions? The partition of India. We gave away our ancestral lands. That was a unilateral concession. What did we get in exchange? We got two enemies on our east and west flanks, right? And the Kashmir issue and all that. Unilaterally giving away your territory, what did it bring us any peace? It did not bring us any peace. Another example of a unilateral concession is giving up Tibet to China. Tibet was historically our protectorate for the best part of 2000 years. It was part of the Indosphere of our extended cultural zone of influence. And Mr. Nehru gave it away, handed it away to China on a platter in the 1950s. Unilateral concession. Here, take it. Now we can be friends. You sure? Yeah. Are we friends today? There are so many other things. In the 2000s, unfortunate but true, Prime Minister Vajpayee unilaterally recognized Tibet as part of China. Until then, India had not recognized Tibet as a part of China. Mr. Vajpayee unilaterally did this. It was a unilateral concession. Okay, we recognize Tibet as a part of China. Now let's be friends. So he must have thought that we'll immediately become friends. But what immediately happened is that China then laid claim on Arunachal Pradesh, which it had not done until then. So these unilateral concessions, if it's a big delusion to believe that it works. It never works. Another delusion we have is that we are almost a superpower. Lots of Indians believe that we are about to be a superpower in 5-10 years. Are you people kidding me? We are a poor third world nation with a tremendous amount of problems. So many problems. Corruption, this, that, what not. Yeah. Superpower. Even China is not a superpower. There's only one superpower, the US. You think you can be anywhere close to that in the near future? You're going to have to work really, really hard to even be on the same level as Russia or China. Really hard. It will take at least until 2050. What superpower? I'm not making fun of people's aspirations that India should be a superpower. I would love for India to be a superpower. But to imagine that we are on the brink of being a superpower is a joke. It's a delusion. We are nowhere close to being a superpower. We are not even close to anywhere being as strong as the top three nations, the US, Russia, and China. We are not even in the same league as China. We may be civilizationally much older than that. It counts for nothing. The only thing that really counts in geopolitics is hard power. And we are nowhere close to even China. Forget about Russia or the US. Superpower, no superpower. Then this other myth of this other delusion that India is a Vishwa Guru. India is a Vishwa student right now. We have one of the world's worst education systems. And you think we'll be Vishwa Guru? I mean, you have to reform the education system. To be a Vishwa Guru, we have to produce the bulk of the world's wisdom and knowledge. Right now, if you want knowledge, if you want an education, a good education, an Indian student will go to the US to get a good education. And there, he or she will have an Indian professor. That's how bad India is. So we are no Vishwa Guru. We are not even a Vishwa student right now. We are a Vishwa Kuli. Sad to say. I mean, these are delusions. Then there is this myth that English education makes you intelligent. Another stupid myth. It makes you dumb. The English language is not some superpower language that makes you automatically intelligent if you can speak in a certain accent. It's just a language. It's just a tool. So there's another delusion Indians have, that if you can speak English, you are automatically superior to everybody else, and you are automatically more intelligent than everybody else. What an idiotic delusion. Then there's this delusion that certain countries are our brother countries. I will not name them because it will upset people, but Indians have this great love for one or two countries. And lots of Indians will put those countries' flags in their social media profiles. And the citizens of those countries will be laughing privately at us and mocking us for being so stupid and delusional. Another delusion is that lots of Indians have is that it is glorious to be poor. Poverty is glorious. Suffering is glorious. And being rich is bad, it's decadent. We were the nation with the world's highest GDP for the longest time. We were genuinely rich and prosperous for the longest period of history. So why are we suddenly glorifying poverty now? Poverty and misery and all that. Lots of Indians, lots of Indians are jealous of people who have wealth. And you automatically assume that they must have done something crooked to get that wealth, right? It's because of the system that India has that you cannot succeed unless you are corrupt. Well, things are changing now. So we should stop stigmatizing wealth. It is glorious to be wealthy, like Deng Xiaoping said, and I would like everybody in this country to be wealthy. So that's a delusion Indians have, that wealth is bad. Well, being wealthy is bad, and wealth corrupts you somehow. No, it doesn't. It doesn't corrupt you. It only empowers you to do things according to your nature. That's what wealth does. Another delusion Indians have. So I went to a podcast as a guest to a podcast, and the host was telling me, I'm not blame him for this, but it seems lots of Indians believe that if somebody has been living in India for a number of years, they become naturalized citizens of India. Or if your parents or ancestors were illegal immigrants, then if you are born in India, then you are naturalized Indians. That is so wrong. That is so wrong. Illegal immigrants and their descendants can never be naturalized citizens of India. If you are an illegal immigrant, you are a criminal. Because infiltrating into India, immigrating into India illegally is obviously a crime. And India does not have the concept of jus soli, which is citizenship by birth, which the Americans have. If a child is born on Indian soil, it does not make the child an Indian citizen. So we have to understand this, that the descendants of illegal immigrants are not Indians. And illegal immigrants, if they stay to 20, 30 years, they don't become Indians by naturalization. Absolutely not. We have a process of naturalization which only applies to legal immigrants, not to illegal immigrants. So there's so many delusions. I could go on. I could do a 2-hour live stream about the delusions that Indians suffer from, but I think I've covered a few. Please think about these things. Lots of Indians are delusional like this. It's not your fault. The education system doesn't teach you what you're supposed to be taught. So that's why you have these delusions. It's not your fault. It is what it is.